My name is Evan Marlowe, and I used to believe that the truest art came from love. I was wrong. Turns out, the purest art, the kind that burns through memory, comes from betrayal. I'm a photographer based in Portland, Oregon. Not famous, not broke. Just one of those working artists who capture weddings, product campaigns, and people's attempts to look happy. I made good money, enough to keep a studio and pay the rent on the house I shared with my wife, Lila. We'd been together 8 years. Married for 5. The kind of marriage that looked solid from the outside. Laughter at dinner parties, shared playlists on Spotify, a wall of framed travel photos from places we'd promised to return to. But behind those photographs, things had been off. It started small, her screen flipping over when I walked by. Late-night giggles at texts she didn't remember in the morning. Password changes on her phone after years of openness. I'm a visual person. I notice patterns. And the pattern was changing fast. One night last winter, after another quiet dinner where her eyes were glued to her phone, I went to my studio in the garage. That's when I saw it, the glow of her reflection in the window. She was still typing, her face softened in a way I hadn't seen directed at me in months. She smiled at her phone, bit her lip, and whispered something under her breath. I didn't confront her. Because in that moment I realized, she was talking to someone who made her feel seen. And if I burst in and demanded answers, she'd just erase the evidence, rewrite the story in her favor. So, I did what photographers do best. I observed. For weeks I stayed quiet. Watched. Not her, but her digital shadow. The change in her routine, her new perfume, the playlist that didn't include me. And then one night, I saw her leave her phone unlocked on the kitchen counter while she showered. My hands trembled, but my heart didn't. I wasn't looking for proof. I already knew. I opened the messages. The username was Atlas_47. His texts were careful. Witty. Too polished for a casual fling. He told her she had a soul you could photograph. He sent her poetry, half of which he'd clearly copied from the internet, but she ate it up. She told him she felt alive again. That she was stuck in a marriage that didn't inspire her anymore. Her words. About me. The man who'd built her entire professional portfolio from scratch, who'd shot every one of her campaign photos, who'd supported her through 2 failed businesses and a year of therapy. Alive again. Because of a stranger on a screen. I didn't rage. I didn't even cry. I just took a screenshot of every message. Every photo. Every timestamp. And then I did something no betrayed husband should ever do. I created an account. New handle, Archer_Flint. Profile picture. A generic stock photo of a tattooed man holding a Leica camera, poetic symmetry. Bio, visual storyteller. Knows what passion looks like. That was the night I decided to become her stranger. Over the next few days I studied Atlas_47. His writing patterns, the way he flirted, his tone, half mystery, half validation. It wasn't hard to replicate. He used words like muse and energy. He called her wild heart. So I did too. But I added something he couldn't, understanding. I knew her favorite wine, the cadence of her moods, the exact words that melted her when she was insecure. Within a week, Archer_Flint had slipped into her Explore feed. Within 2 she followed me back. Within 3 she messaged first. It began with something innocent. Your work feels alive. Where are you based? And I replied. Wherever people forget to look. She loved that. Of course she did. That was one of my lines, something I told her in our 2nd year of marriage. When she replied, I love that, I smiled. Because she didn't even realize she was falling in love with her own husband's ghost. She started confiding in me, in Archer. About her loneliness, her doubts, her dreams of moving to California. I mirrored her words, mirrored her longing. It was like watching a play I'd already written. Then one night she told me, that she was married. Unhappily, she said. He's a good man, but he doesn't see me anymore. That's when I knew I'd crossed into dangerous territory, because hearing my own wife describe me like that to me wasn't jealousy. It was clear. I wasn't losing her to a man. I was losing her to the version of herself she pretended to be online. So, I made a decision. If she wanted to live in a fantasy, I'd build it for her, piece by piece, until she walked right into it, and couldn't find the way out. The next month was an emotional chess game. I'd leave subtle hints around the house, questions she thought were coincidences. She'd say she wanted to photograph sunsets again. The next day I'd suggest a trip to Cannon Beach. She'd post a story saying, some people just get your energy, and Archer would reply, energy recognizes energy. She started smiling again. Not for me, for the man she thought was somewhere out there in digital space waiting. And then one evening while I was editing portraits in my studio, she walked in wearing the same red dress she'd worn on our honeymoon. Her hair pinned the way I used to love. She said softly, "Do you ever feel like your life's about to change but you don't know how yet?" I looked up. She was glowing. That's when it hit me, she wasn't planning to cheat. She was planning to leave. For the next 2 weeks I played my part to perfection. As Archer, I built intimacy with her messages, talking about art, freedom, and what it means to feel seen. As Evan, I stayed calm, affectionate, supportive, so she'd never suspect I knew. Then one night she wrote to Archer, "I want to meet you. I'm ready." The date was set, Saturday 7 p.m. at a small wine bar downtown called Verity, the kind of place people go to start new lives or end old ones. I said yes. That night I arrived early. Not as Evan but as Archer. Clean-shaven, dark coat, a different watch, contact lenses to dull the blue in my eyes. The lighting was low, the music ambient. She'd never expect me here, not as her husband, not as her fantasy. I took a corner booth where I could see the entrance through a reflection in the bar mirror. When she walked in I almost forgot to breathe. Lila, my wife, looked radiant. Nervous. She checked her phone, scanned the room, then smiled faintly as if she recognized someone unseen. She didn't see me. She was looking for a ghost that I had created. I watched her order a drink, glance around, her anticipation morphing into confusion as minutes passed. I didn't approach her. I didn't reveal myself. Instead I texted her as Archer. "I'm running late. Look around. Sometimes what you seek is already watching you." She looked up, puzzled, glancing at the mirrors, the same mirror reflecting my calm expression as I lifted my glass. And that's when she froze. For just a second our eyes met, but she couldn't process it. Her face paled. Because deep down she recognized something in the reflection, something too familiar to name. She blinked and I was gone. I'd already stood, left cash on the table and slipped into the rain. She texted again that night, frantic, confused, apologetic. "Did you see someone? Did I do something wrong?" I didn't reply. Instead, I uploaded something new to my photography page, a photo of the wine bar's reflection in a rainy window. Captioned, "Some truths only appear when the light hits at the right angle." She liked the post. Of course she did. The next morning I found her crying in the kitchen. "He stood me up," she whispered, clutching her phone. And for the first time in months she reached for me, the husband she'd emotionally abandoned, for comfort. I held her. Quietly. Because my revenge wasn't loud. It was artistic. The goal wasn't to humiliate her. It was to make her see herself. And the first phase was complete. But that wasn't the end. That was just the first exposure in a long series, the beginning of an image I'd been framing since the night she lied to me. Because if you're going to photograph betrayal, you have to get the lighting just right. In the weeks after that night at Verity, something in Lila changed. The spark she'd chased online flickered out, replaced by an unease she couldn't name. Her laughter came in bursts, sharp, nervous. She slept less, scrolled more, jumped whenever her phone lit up. Every morning she still checked for a message from Archer Flint. And every morning there was none. That was the punishment, absence. Silence is the loudest sound when guilt starts echoing. I photographed her from a distance, not in secret but in life. The way she stared out the window, the tight clutch of her coffee mug, the faint mascara lines she didn't bother to hide. Each image became part of a private series I titled The Disappearing Wife. No one else saw them. Not yet. At work, my clients noticed I was producing the best images of my career, raw, emotional, textured. But art has a cost, and mine was watching the woman I loved slowly unravel under the weight of her own deception. One evening she came into my studio holding a framed picture of us from our 3rd anniversary, the one we took in Joshua Tree, sunlight in her hair, sand in our shoes. Her voice cracked. "Remember this?" "Of course," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "You told me then," she continued, "that photos can't lie, they only show what's already true." I nodded. She hesitated, then whispered, "So what happens when the truth changes?" I looked straight at her. "Then the picture stops matching the person." She blinked as if the words stung without knowing why. That was the second exposure. A few days later she said she wanted space. I encouraged it. "Go visit your sister in Seattle," I told her. "Clear your head." She left Friday morning. That night, Archer Flint came back to life. I sent her a message. "You looked beautiful at Verity. I saw you. I wanted to make sure you were real before I stepped forward." Her reply came in seconds. "You were there?" You saw me? I've been seeing you for a long time. From there, the hook was deeper than ever. Over the next 2 weeks, I became her shadow again, gentle, mysterious, the man who almost was. She told Archer she couldn't stop thinking about that night. How she'd felt seen even in his absence. I told her. Maybe that's what love is, someone seeing you when you're not even looking. She said she wanted to start over, to meet properly. I agreed, but this time I set the terms. There's a photography festival every year in Portland, the Glassline Exhibition. It features anonymous submissions. Artists from around the country send their work, unsigned, and the audience votes on emotional impact before the names are revealed. It's the purest kind of art, stripped of ego, all about truth. I submitted my series The Disappearing Wife. 24 black and white portraits capturing Lila's descent from joy to suspicion to quiet despair. I didn't list her name, of course. To anyone else she was just a woman. But to her she'd recognize every moment. I scheduled our meeting for that night. I told her Archer had a piece in the show, one that revealed everything about them. She promised she'd be there. When the evening came, I dressed in a simple black suit. Lila arrived early, looking every bit the muse she thought she was. She scanned the crowd for a face that wasn't there. And then she saw it, my photograph. The first in the series, her reflection in the window, smiling at her phone. Then another. Her wiping a tear while staring at an unanswered message. Her clutching the Joshua Tree frame. Each one more raw than the last. I watched from the edge of the crowd as realization dawned. Her lips parted, her breath faltered. Her phone buzzed, another message from Archer. Do you like the exhibit? Every frame tells the truth you hid. She froze, eyes darting around. Who are you? She typed. You tell me, I answered. And then the final piece was unveiled, the largest print, centered under a single spotlight. It showed her standing in that same wine bar, alone, reflection caught mid-blink, the look of recognition and fear just beginning to form. Caption: Some truths only appear when the light hits right. The audience murmured, drawn by the raw emotion. Lila stumbled back, white as the gallery walls. After the show she came home shaking. I saw your photos, she said. Those were of me, weren't they? I looked up from my laptop. Everyone sees themselves in art. She snapped. Stop it, Evan. You're tormenting me. What do you want? I closed the lid and stood. I want honesty. She laughed bitterly. Honesty? From you? I tilted my head. What did I lie about? Her silence was enough. That night she slept in the guest room. I could hear her sobbing through the wall. I almost felt pity. Almost. But betrayal doesn't die with tears. It dissolves slowly like a film in development, until what's left is the final image. Truth, burned into permanence. Over the next month she tried to make amends. She cooked, cleaned, and complimented my work. But guilt isn't redemption, it's camouflage. And I'd already seen the real picture. Still I played along. Let her believe she was rebuilding something. Because every story needs a climax, and I was saving mine for the moment she felt safe again. The Glassline Exhibition announced its winners. My series The Disappearing Wife took first place. When the judges unveiled the artist's name, the applause was polite, except for one gasp from the back of the room. Lila. She left before the speech ended. That night she confronted me again. You humiliated me, she screamed. No, I said quietly. I held up a mirror. Her voice trembled. You had no right to use me like that. I stepped closer. You gave those moments freely, when you thought no one was watching. The camera just remembered. She slapped me. The sound echoed, sharp and clean. Then she packed a suitcase and left. For the first time in months the house was silent. I should have felt free. Instead, I felt the weight of every click of the shutter. Revenge, I realized, isn't victory. It's documentation. Weeks passed. Her lawyer called about divorce papers. I didn't contest. Our marriage had become an empty frame, the picture gone, only the outline remaining. I focused on work. My gallery sales tripled. Critics called my style intimate realism. They said I captured the anatomy of guilt. They weren't wrong. Then, out of nowhere, a message arrived in my business inbox. From Atlas_47. Beautiful work. You capture pain like someone who's lived it. My stomach tightened. The original man she'd been messaging, the real Atlas, was still out there. Real. Not me. I clicked his profile. Minimal posts. Landscapes. A face hidden in every shadow. He wasn't a scammer or bot. He was a real photographer, older with a following just big enough to look credible. That's when something twisted inside me. Because my revenge had been built on illusion, but her betrayal? It had been built on something real. I replied under my real name. Thank you. I think we might have more in common than you realize. He answered instantly. Funny. I was going to say the same. I know Lila. My hands froze on the keyboard. You knew her? Still do. She told me everything. Said her husband turned her life into art. And what did she tell you about herself? I asked. Enough to know she deserved better. I stared at the screen, the words pulsing like a heartbeat. So she'd gone back to him, the real Atlas. And he knew who I was. For days I couldn't sleep. Every camera lens felt like an eye staring back at me. Every mirror a threat. I kept seeing that final frame, her face in the wine bar mirror, and wondering if maybe this time the reflection was on me. Then late one night a courier dropped off a package. No return address. Inside, a single photograph. Black and white. Me. Standing outside the gallery on the night of the exhibition. Someone had taken it from across the street. Caption scrawled in ink on the back. Some truths only appear when the light hits right. My own words. My own phrase. That was when I realized the twist wasn't coming. It had already begun. I sat on the studio floor with that photograph balanced on my knees, my pulse a slow drum in my ears. Same composition, same grain, same haunting symmetry I prided myself on. Only one problem, I hadn't taken it. Outside, Portland rain tapped the skylight in nervous patterns. Inside, my cameras stared back at me from their shelf, a silent jury of glass and chrome. The photograph on my lap felt like a confession written by someone who knew my secrets better than I did. There was another envelope in the package. Inside, a USB drive and a note in the same looping script. Every artist deserves to be seen. I plugged it into my laptop. A folder opened /raw/verity/. Inside, hundreds of stills. Me in the wine bar mirror. Me in my car watching the door. Me lifting my glass at the moment her eyes met mine. Every frame from the night I'd orchestrated her heartbreak. Shot from the opposite angle. Someone had been photographing the photographer. My stomach flipped. Every shutter click I thought I owned had a twin, taken seconds apart from a vantage point I never noticed. And then I saw the metadata, the lens, the timestamp, the watermark hidden in the pixels. It matched Atlas_47. So it was true. He was real and he had been there that night. Watching both of us. The next morning I called Lila. She didn't answer. I texted, "We need to talk." Hours later she replied, "I can't, Evan. Please stop." That was new. Not anger. Fear. So I drove to her new apartment on the east side, one of those minimalist complexes with keypad entries and hollow hallways that smell like disinfectant. Her door opened halfway. "Evan, you shouldn't be here." Her voice was small, stripped of its old arrogance. I held up the photograph. "Who took this?" She hesitated. Then quietly, "He did. Atlas." She nodded. "He's not who you think," she whispered. "He found me months ago, before you ever knew. He said he wanted to collaborate, that he loved my photos. But then he started knowing things. Private things. About us. About you." I frowned. "He was using you." Her eyes flicked up. "No, Evan. He was using both of us. He knew about the exhibition. He told me to send him the pictures I took of you editing, the studio, everything. He said he was curating a new series, The Man Behind the Mirror." My chest tightened. "Lila, what did you send him?" She shook her head. "Everything. I didn't realize what it was for until last week." I left without another word, my mind unraveling in the drizzle. The stranger I'd created had been watching the creator the whole time. The hunter had been bait. At home I tore through my email archives. Deep in the spam folder I found it, a collaboration request from a domain called atlascollective.com, dated 6 months earlier. I'd ignored it back then. The tagline chilled me, "Turning truth into portrait." When I clicked the link, it redirected to a live countdown, 12 minutes and 48 seconds. Premiere. And below it, a title, "The Frame He Never Saw, An Intimate Study of Betrayal by Evan Marlowe." I froze. It wasn't my project. It was his. The clock ticked down. 12 minutes until the world saw my revenge repackaged as confession. I tried pulling the site down. No luck. The page was mirrored on half a dozen art platforms already. So I did the only thing left. I watched. At 0 the video began. Black screen. Then my voice, from an old interview I'd done for a local podcast. "Photography is about control. You decide what the world remembers." Cut to images of me stalking through rain, camera in hand. Footage of Lila in tears, slow motion, her reflection caught between two mirrors. Then my own face lit by monitor glow, editing her pictures with surgical calm. Each shot mirrored one of my own. But this version told a different story, not of a betrayed artist but of a man obsessed with control, manipulating his wife for art. Halfway through, text faded in across the screen, in collaboration with Lila Marlowe. My heart dropped. When it ended, the credits rolled over the same phrase, "Every artist deserves to be seen." I refreshed the page. The view count climbed in real time, thousands then tens of thousands. Comments flooded in. Genius. Disturbing look at obsession. Is this real? By midnight, my inbox was full. Galleries wanting interviews, journalists requesting statements, clients canceling shoots. Lila hadn't just sold the story, she'd rewritten it. She and Atlas had turned my revenge into their art. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the darkroom watching chemicals swirl under red light, the smell of developer stinging my nose. Every photograph I'd ever taken stared back at me from the drying lines, ghosts suspended in silver. I realized I wasn't the narrator anymore. I was the subject. Around dawn, a new email appeared. From Atlas_47. You gave me the concept. She gave me the truth. Consider this the final exposure. There was an attachment, a single photo. My face, half-lit, eyes hollow, camera raised like a weapon. The caption, "Control is the loneliest art form." Days turned into weeks. My name trended for all the wrong reasons. Critics called me the husband who staged his wife's breakdown. The exhibition rescinded my award, citing ethical concerns. Sponsors vanished. I tried to reach Lila again. She'd gone offline. No phone, no socials. Atlas47 deleted every account the same day the video hit 1 million views. But he wasn't gone. Some nights, I'd hear my email ping at 3 a.m., anonymous tips linking to new forums dissecting the project. People posted my photographs next to his edits, arguing which version felt more truthful. I wanted to scream that they were both lies, hers and mine, but the internet doesn't care about nuance. It only cares about narratives. A month later, I received another courier envelope. No note this time, just a small hard drive. I hesitated, then plugged it in. A single video file. /goodbye.mov. Static. Then Lila's face, tear-streaked, sitting in what looked like a motel room. If you're watching this, it's because he wants you to. Atlas told me this is the only way the story makes sense. I thought I was finding someone who understood me. Instead, I found someone who knew exactly how to use me. He said we were partners. We weren't. We were subjects. She looked off camera. Her voice broke. He has footage of everything, Evan. The studio, the gallery, even you reading this. He said art only matters if someone bleeds for it. I think he's going to release another film. About both of us. She reached forward, turning the camera slightly. For a fraction of a second, I saw the edge of a tripod. My old one, the one missing a leg brace. Then the video cuts to black. I sat frozen, heart hammering. The timestamp was from yesterday. I drove until sunrise, following nothing but instinct, down the coast, through fog-wet highways, past the beaches we used to shoot together. Every billboard felt like an accusation. By the time I stopped, I was back at Verity, the wine bar where it all began. Closed for renovations. Through the papered windows I could see shapes, canvases, tripods, photo lights. Someone was inside. I broke the lock. The smell of chemicals hit first, then the hum of equipment. The room glowed in dim red light, a makeshift darkroom. On the far wall hung dozens of prints. Not hers. Not mine. Ours. Frames of us at every phase. Love, suspicion, revenge, each labeled with a date and a single word. Trust. Distance. Design. Reversal. And the last one, dead center, printed larger than the rest. Justice. It showed me standing in that very doorway, camera raised, captured in real time. Before I could move, a shutter clicked behind me. Then a familiar voice. Hold still, Evan. This one's closer. I turned. Atlas47 wasn't some faceless phantom. He was Theo Lane, a photographer I'd assisted years ago, the one who taught me post-production, the one I'd undercut on a big contract early in my career. I hadn't seen him since. He smiled. You always steal people's stories. I just learned from the best. I lunged, grabbing for the camera, but he stepped back, calm as ever. Careful, he said. This piece is called Dark Justice. The final exhibit goes live in 12 hours. You ruined her, I hissed. She ruined herself, he replied. You just provided the framing. I merely adjusted the exposure. He lifted the camera again, eyes gleaming through the viewfinder. Smile, Evan. Every story needs an ending. The flash went off. When I woke, the room was empty. My wrists ached, duct tape burns. The prints were gone, only the word exposed spray painted across the wall. Outside, morning light cut through fog like a knife. My phone buzzed. A new upload notification. Dark Justice, the final frame by Atlas 47. I didn't open it. Some truths I'd learned aren't meant to be seen twice. It's been 6 months now. My studio's gone. My name's a cautionary tale in every photography forum. But sometimes strangers still message me saying my old work moved them, the Disappearing Wife series. They don't know how right they are. Because Lila disappeared completely a week after that final video dropped. No credit cards, no forwarding address. Only a rumor. Someone saw her in Los Angeles, working under a new name, assisting an anonymous filmmaker. Sometimes I imagine her behind another camera, finally understanding the cost of capturing pain. Other nights I think she and Theo are still out there, turning lives into art one frame at a time. I keep one photograph from the whole mess, the very first one I ever took of her. She's laughing, sunlight in her hair, oblivious to the lens. No lies, no angles. Just the truth. I keep it in a locked drawer face down. Because I finally understand what Bo Larkin once told me when I interned under him years ago. Art doesn't reveal people. It reveals the artist. And maybe that's my punishment, knowing that every betrayal I've ever captured started with my own reflection. So if you ever see my name attached to a picture again, remember, every frame has two sides. And the one you never see is usually the one that costs the most. If this story hit you, if you've ever trusted someone who turned your life into their performance, take a second to breathe. You're not alone. This is Betrayal Nation, where real stories meet real consequences. Like, share, and comment to tell us what truth this story reminded you of. And don't forget to subscribe. Help us reach 5,000 subscribers so we can keep exposing the lies behind every perfect picture. Because in the end, every betrayal deserves its frame.